But I will hold on hope, and I won't let you choke on the noose around your neck. And I'll find strength in pain, and I will change my ways. I'll know my name as it's called again. I have other things to fill my time. You take what is yours and I'll take mine. Now let me at the truth which will refresh my broken mind. So tie me to a post and blow my ears. I can see where those orphans through my tears. Know my cold despite my faults and despite my growing fears. But
I have overdosed on drugs on 3 occasions where I should have been dead. But I believe I was kept here for a reason. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. How do I know this? I hung out with losers, and I became the biggest loser of them all because I gave up everything I dreamt about as a little boy because of who I chose.
My next guest is a 4-time New York State Golden Gloves champ. He's been a WCW, WWE champion. He's the second guest I have that has an action figure. He's got 12, actually. He's an ordained minister. He's a youth advocate. This man is all about kids. He's had a wonderful career and continues to kick ass. His name is Marc Mero. Marc, how's it going today, my friend?
Derek, after that introduction, are you kidding me? How can I be sad?
Yeah, there's so much I want to talk to you about. I mean, your career, what you've done. You know, I love your quote, a man defined by choices, because aren't we all?
We are defined by the choices we make.
So I have to say, religion always been a big part of your life. Like, you're a Christian, okay? And if I'm wrong in this, I'm going to be very embarrassed. Dad was Jewish, though, right?
He was. We were actually brought up Jewish. And it wasn't until my parents got divorced where it was really strange. We lived in one of the worst neighborhoods in Buffalo, New York on the west side. And we were going to a school that my brother and sister and I were constantly getting beat up at school, and it was really hard on us. And my mom actually had us go to a Catholic school where we actually, first learned about Christianity and Christ and so on. And I really started following that. And then obviously when I was a kid, it really went by the wayside. But as I got older as an adult, I went back to that, and I really just built a relationship with Christ.
Yeah. And I mean, to say you've been through adversity might be the understatement of the year. I mean, you've overdosed 3 times. You were very close to suicide, with a gun. The tragedy in your family is almost unbelievable. Talk a little bit about that, Marc, and how that's kind of shaped who you are and the kind of the message you're giving to kids, which I'm also going to talk about today.
Well, Derek, through our struggles is where we really find our strength. And never understanding that, obviously, when I was going through a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, I lost my little brother and sister. They both died at 21. Mm-hmm. My mom died at 58. And my dad died while I was holding him in my arms from lung cancer. He was in the hospital, and I was in the bed and holding him, and he passed on. Of course, lost so many friends in the wrestling industry that many people know about, and it's just been a life that I'm so passionate, and I appreciate life so much. Every moment means something now after going through so much in my life. And I just don't want other people to feel that pain or go through that adversity in life. And we all go through adversity. It's not, you can't stop it. But, it's not about our circumstance or situations, how we respond to it that makes all the difference. And what I found that there's no greater joy than helping another person, and especially these young kids that are self-harming or being bullied at school or suicidal. These are the kids I've really been connecting with and helping. And then, of course, parents that are going through drug addiction or suicidal thoughts. When you've been there and you've gone down that road, you understand it. And, and when I look back at my own life, I think it wasn't, when I had that gun to my head, it wasn't so much that I wanted to die I wanted the pain to go away. And I really understand that now. And that's why I can relate to people that I have helped through suicide, or even talk to them even through on the phone of not ending their life. So I've been so blessed. There's just, like I said, there's no greater joy than helping another person.
Yeah, and we were talking off air how positive of a person I believe you are, and certainly everyone that hears you speak knows you are. And I have a question for you. Is there any time, Mark, and I'm not saying pity or feel sorry for yourself, is there any moment in your life that you wish, you know what, I wish I had a do-over just for that one specific thing? Is there do you have any of that in your life?
That's actually a great question. And, the reason why, and I don't want to sound, I don't know what the word is, but I'm not like, I have no resentment or bitterness. In other words, all the roads that I took ended up right where I am right now. And maybe if something was changed, or I didn't go through that, or wouldn't have understood that, maybe I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So when I look back on my life, sure, there's things like, gosh, the way I treated my parents, or the way I talked to people, or how rude I was to someone, or how mean I was at a time that really hurt somebody's feelings. Sure, those are things I wish I never did. But you know what? I look at all these learning experience, all those mistakes then became learning experiences. And that's what I try to tell people is sometimes forgiveness is so important in life, because you release yourself from this prison. But sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. And I really had to come to a place in my life. I forgave everybody that ever wronged me, that I felt may have wronged me or hurt me in a way. But the hardest person to forgive was myself. And then finally being able to forgive myself and move on in my life, I don't have to live in the past anymore. And I tell anybody that's listening to this podcast right now that if you're going through those feelings of pain in your life because you haven't forgiven yourself, you may have hurt somebody, or you've gone through a horrible breakup or divorce or something, you got to forgive yourself, because that's the only way to truly move on in life.
Yeah, and you are you convey that message to kids, and you might be the only person where it's okay to see kids, to make kids cry, right? Because that means they're getting your message. You look out in the audience when you do your speeches, and we're going to talk about this to middle school kids and so forth. When you see them with tears in their eyes, Mark, that's got to make you feel, and this sounds weird to say, but it's got to make you feel good because your message is seeping in.
What's so funny, Derek, is that it's the times that I have actually cried on stage or get teary-eyed is when I see other people crying or hurting, But, that emotion that I could bring out of people, and, it's not just the kids. It's the adults at corporate events or churches that I see the same reaction, But it really makes people reevaluate or look into their own life and say, how can I be a better father or mother or daughter or son or uncle or whatever it is? How can I be better in life? And I see relationships restored, hearts healed. I get more letters from parents that say their kid came home from school and told how much they loved them and how sorry they were for doing something or whatever it would be. This is my 12th year speaking at schools, and what's so cool is every day we receive letters from kids that saw me back in middle or high school years ago, and they've already graduated from college. They have their own business. Some made professional sports, record deal. All these things were because of that day I came to their school where they wrote their dreams and goals into existence, or they say it changed or even saved their life.
Mark, that's well said. And I feel so sorry for some of these kids, because I worked with kids for almost 25 years, and I've seen kids take their lives, and I've seen kids die and pass on. And, with social media now, Mark, a lot of these kids are surrounded by bullying 24/7. When they hear you speak, Mark, a lot of these kids don't have a father figure, a mother figure at home. They have no parents. So when you get through to them, it is the first time they're hearing this stuff. And it's got to feel good for you that you're and I'm being sincere here, how many lives that you've saved. I guess you'd really never know that, but I really want kids to love and value themselves
so many times we become defined by other people's opinion. And I just tell them, you're not defined by someone else's opinion. You have goals and dreams, and you're beautiful and you're special. And kids need to hear that, because I think the more times they hear that, the more that they're going to end up believing it, because we all have a plan and a purpose for our lives, every single one of us. And I've been to 2 schools this past school year. That one school had 6 suicides. One school had 7 suicides.
Wow.
Now, when you think about that, many kids feel hopeless, helpless, feel like they don't matter or they don't care anymore. It just absolutely wrenches and breaks my heart. And that's why I feel like this mission I'm on, we did 293 events, last year. And I mean, going from school to school and churches and corporations and meeting so many people and getting hundreds and hundreds of letters every single day, a week, thousands in a week sometimes, we have a staff that really is, their passion is just like me. We want to help and save as many of these kids as possible. But we work with these kids to get them into counseling and get them the help that they need, where they feel like they could talk about it. Because so many kids feel like, they don't want to be a snitch, or they don't want to, they don't feel like they could talk to a counselor about what they're going through. But we're also now, we just signed a deal with a bullying app that the kids can now get on the phone. We're going to be introducing this here in the next few weeks. I'm going to be the spokesperson for this company called Bully Radar, which gives these kids this opportunity to actually reach out through the app and get help that they need, or report a bullying incident. I was at one school in Atlanta where when I leave the school, my phone starts blowing up from kids that write to me, and they'll say this forever changed my life today, or something beautiful. But we also get the kids that are going through bullying or self-harm, where they're saying pictures of their arms all cut up from self-harming or with a razor blade. But we got a call or an email from a student, and he said, which was shocking, he said, "Today was the day I was going to shoot up the school. There's kids I needed to kill, and I was going to kill myself." Now, of course, it's really alarming when you hear that, but you never know if a kid's just saying that or what. But we take everything serious. We automatically contacted the school and the police. They went to the school, and sure enough, the kid had the gun on him and the names of the kids he was going to kill.
Oh, my God.
When he was arrested in the interrogation, I was told that they asked him why he didn't follow through with this, and he said, "That man that came to our school made me realize how much this would hurt my mother." And so we don't know, you never know what we can avert. But now with this app that we're going to be using, that kids can go on for free, the kids can get it for free. And the parents pay a small fee every month, but it's so worth it, because it's got facial recognition. It's just the most amazing app that's out there. It's the #1 app, and they chose me to represent them and work with them, and I'm excited about it, because sometimes it's overwhelming to take on as much as we're taking on with all the letters we get. Every school we go to, we get at least 100 letters from students from a school we go to, and then when you do multiple schools in a day, and of course you're doing sometimes 10, 15 schools in a week. It's you just get so backlogged. I'm up all night answering letters or scanning through them, looking for those words, suicide or bullying, or those key words that I look for when I scan through a letter.
Wow. And I'm going to circle back to that. Many of us know you at, Marvelous Marc Mero, Johnny B. Bad, Wildman. Your career's established. You were a great athlete, and probably still are. Great boxer. You played football for George O'Leary. He's a unique guy, huh, Mark?
I love George. I got a quick funny story about George. I was kicked out of school because I used to get in a lot of trouble. And one of the prerequisites of me coming back to school was I had to play for school sports instead of playing. I used to play on the junior hockey team, Syracuse Stars, which was not school. It was junior hockey. So we would travel a lot. I missed a lot of school. Well, the deal was I'd have to come back and play for our high school and play so I could stay in school and keep me out of trouble. So I never played football in my life, and I remember going to George O'Leary's office, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to play on your team this year." And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he goes, you can try out for my team, but who knows if you're going to make it, you know? And I eventually became a first-team all-county defensive end,
Wow.
you know? I think at that time I had a record for quarterback sacks or something, but it was this incredible 1 year of playing football, and I played for most intense guy, and to this day we are good friends.
Wow. And let me just say this, and I know you're very positive, and let me just say this. You should be a WWE Hall of Famer for your work in WCW and WWE. And I don't know why WWE hasn't embraced you as far as having you be a spokesman for them and what you're doing for kids. And I know either way you're going to do the Lord's work and do your thing, but what an opportunity for Vince. It's right there. You've done all the groundwork. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You know, and I would welcome that, and I thank God that I don't need that, if you know, but I'd certainly welcome that, because it would be we may be able to reach more kids. You know, the only thing I could ever say is that, you know, years ago I spoke out against the wrestling industry with the steroids and the drugs and everything. You know, and I have no regrets, because I really believe they got the strictest testing now. We don't see wrestlers dying like they did back when I was in the industry. So I really believe that it may have even changed or saved some lives in the industry for me speaking out, and some others that did speak out, because there were some major changes that happened. So looking back, I have no regrets about that. And I can only hope that someday we can all work together and, you know, change and save more lives. The program that they have with WWE isn't as intense as the program we have, and it isn't as in depth. I mean, when you just send wrestlers to a school and the kids are just going crazy because they see a WWE superstar and don't deliver a proper message that changes their life or makes them think about their choices or how they treat somebody, then we're just seeing a repetition of the same thing happening over and over again.
Yeah, Mark, and I know the interview you're talking about. Some people turned on you, and that's unfortunate, because you were pro wrestler in that interview. It was shortly after what Chris Benoit did and what happened to Chris Benoit. You know, and a lot of it was CTE related. You were talking about wrestlers that you wrestled that have passed on. You know, and I had a question for you. So, you know, we see a guy like Daniel Bryan, right? Concussion after concussion. WWE says, you know what? Maybe you need to take a little break. Is he flirting with disaster by coming back with all his head injuries?
You know, I think the thing I realize more, because I appreciate it, and life is so precious, you know, I question the fact that how bad did you miss it, or did you want to do this to go and jeopardize your life? I mean, one, you know, traumatic blow to the head, and then, of course, accidental, you know, not even, you know, something that, you know, that's planned in the match, but something accidental happens. You know, things don't always go right.
Right.
And I just really feel for him, and I really think he's such an amazing talent. And, you know, but I don't walk in his shoes, and maybe he just missed it so much that he felt that he's willing to take that risk. And, you know, as a man, I can understand that. But he also has a child and a wife and family to think about, too. So making that decision, I like I said, I don't walk in his shoes, and I really can't answer that. But I hope and pray that nothing ever seriously happens to Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, well said. And you know, but you know, you start off your wrestling career, right? You hook up with the Malenkos, right? Dean Malenko am I right with that, Mark?
I went to his dad's school, Boris Malenko, the great Malenko, and so I went to the school. Now, Dean wasn't there very often. I've only seen Dean there maybe, very few times, a handful of times that he may have came in there. But it was really his dad that trained me. And then eventually, you know, wrestling with Dean at WCW Wrestling. But it was his dad that really, you know, orchestrated me getting into the business.
Yeah, and then you have your first match against Sid Vicious, and you really didn't do a lot on the indie circuit, right? Did you have a ton of training before the Malenkos, or was it?
No. I started training in 1990, and I signed my first contract was with WCW in 1991.
Wow!
So it was very quick. I was very green when I first started with WCW, and of course that was because I got a break because of Dusty Rhodes. Thinking I look like Little Richard, and gave me the Johnny B. Bad character, and I just, gosh, I got to tell you, I had so much fun with Dusty Rhodes, you know, when we worked on that character together and became such good friends. And I love that man, and he is the one that gave me my break in the business. and I look at all that I have today or all that I've accomplished, it really became, it all came about because someone believed in me or someone saw something in me. And I try to use that with people I meet today, that you want to see something or believe in them where they eventually believe in themselves.
Yeah, that's well said. And how tough is it? Because many wrestlers that come in have had training on the indie circuit, so forth, and all that other, kind of training. You're kind of what you're developing on television in front of our eyes. That's got to be pressure filled for you.
It was so, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done because I was put out there right away. And there was it was like on the job training. Here I am wrestling guys that were famous superstars, and having to go over them as the character that I had, was supposed to win the match. I'm thinking, oh my God, I watched this guy on TV. I never forget the first time I wrestled Ric Flair. Watched Ric Flair as a kid, and then wrestling against him, It was just incredible. But and I could see people being bitter because I didn't know how to wrestle, but I was paying my dues. I was trying to learn, and but a lot of guys were very bitter the fact that I got a big push coming out of the gate as the character Johnny B. Bad.
Mark, should wrestling have an off season?
It's amazing because, when you think about the Super Bowl, wrestling is like WrestleMania, and then the next night you're doing Monday Night Raw.
Right.
So it's like the Super Bowl in football, and the next night they're doing Monday Night Football.
Right.
It's, there's enough people out there and enough characters that you don't need an off season. You just need to give guys a couple months off,
I agree. I totally
agree.
I
wouldn't say it off season because you have so much talent and so much, especially with NXT. What Triple H did with NXT is incredible. How they have this whole talent pool now to choose from, and maybe would give some guys some more airtime that they could develop their character, and maybe we'd find another Stone Cold Steve Austin, and another Rock, or another Triple H.
Yeah, and most people remember you from Sable. Married to Sable. You guys were wonderful together. She's now married to, obviously, for those that don't know, Brock Lesnar. What's your rapport with her now? What's your rapport with Brock Lesnar? How does that work, Mark?
Really, gosh, I got to tell you that the most beautiful thing is we've never said a bad word about each other, and I just don't go there. There's nothing bad to say. She was a wonderful person, wife, and we both made mistakes, but you know what? You don't live by that. And I'm so happy for her and Brock got kids together. I pray their marriage is real strong. I don't have any contact. We share a daughter together, our daughter Mariah, who's actually coming up next month to stay with us too. We're taking her and my granddaughter to Disney. So
very cool.
It's like 3 days of just seeing Disney through my granddaughter's eyes, not only my daughter's eyes, but our granddaughter's eyes. So I cannot wait. And but I don't really have any contact with Brock or my ex-wife. And if I did, it would be nothing. There's nothing bad to say, or if it would probably be about our daughter or something.
Sure. And you know what? I love, and I'm going to bring this name up. We talked about this off the air. Your friendship with DDP, and what I love about what you guys are doing is you guys are changing lives. Very similarly. You're working on a different, population than he is, but you're changing lives. You're affecting people. You're giving back. You're very much like each other, Mark.
You know what? He is one of my closest friends. It was so funny because last month I went and spent 3 days with him at his house with his wife Brenda, and we had the best time at the performance center with all the DDP yoga guys. So I love going down there. But then recently he just came. Just yesterday he was at the WWE Performance Center. Helping the new wrestlers out there and getting them acclimated to learning how to do yoga to prevent injuries and so on. So he calls me and he said, "Hey man, let's go to dinner tonight." And so we went to dinner last night, and I got to tell you, man, spending 4 hours with DDP. We can't get a word in edgewise. We're inspiring each other. We're telling each other stories, and we're laughing. And my gosh, we just had the best time. And I really say I love that man. His heart is huge, and I know that anywhere in this world, if I needed him, he would be there for me. He's that good of a friend, you know, and I'd be there for him. And I just, I adore him, and I can't thank him. I learned a lot from DDP and through our friendship, through our 27 years, 28 years of friendship now. It's been incredible.
And Mark, I have a few more questions for you. Before I forget, I want to tell people out there, Mark speaks to middle school kids. He speaks, he does different types of, venues. Please, there's videos of him talking to middle school kids on YouTube. There's one from Goldcast. If you haven't seen it, guys, it's the most emotional 5 minutes I've ever seen. Please do me a favor and watch that. So you retire in 2006 from wrestling, Mark.
Let me just. I just want to say that it's not just middle schools. We go to high schools and colleges too.
Right.
So it's all the different ages that we go. The only thing we don't do is the elementary school kids because they're a little young for the presentation. But anyone listening, just go to our website. You'll see all the information, which is ThinkPoz, which is POZ, like zebra, thinkpoz.org.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you do, and you also do you speak to like adults too, Mark? I think you do that as well, don't you?
I do, man, and I really enjoy that too. I mean, obviously the kids are my passion, but when you can speak to like a church or corporation, you're speaking to your peers. You have a little more fun with it, and put a little more humor into your stories and things like that. Where schools are a little more serious because of all the issues that the kids are going through.
Okay, so I had a few questions for you. Start speaking roughly 2009. I have to ask, what's the most powerful thing a kid's ever told you?
Oh, gosh. The most powerful thing a kid has ever told me? There's actually a few that I actually save a lot of these emails that these kids write me. But if I could read a short one to you real quick.
Sure.
The video you just talked about, someone saw this little girl, and she wrote, no, little girl, she was an adult. Her name is Cassie. She said, I had pills in one hand and a drink in the other. I had enough to end my life. I was ready to leave all because I didn't fit in. I felt unwanted, like I wasn't supposed to be around, like I was God's mistake. I looked on Facebook one last time and saw your video about your mom. I looked at your page, and with tears rolling down my face, I put the pills away and read your posts. This was 10 minutes ago. If it wasn't for that video, I'd be filled with pills on my way to see God. Thank you. So we get so many like that, though, and it's incredible how many people's lives have been changed, especially the live performances that kids write to me and say that they were going. We've even seen where kids had a suicide note written, and that day they were going to end their life.
Wow, that's moving stuff, Mark. And you talk about, Andrea and what happened to Mom and Dad and Guy Christopher and Joel and Judy. Could you have been the profound speaker you are now without your past?
I don't believe so. I mean, you know what? The thing about my presentation was it's a presentation that you can't just call in. You can't just show up. When I'm on stage, I actually relive the moments that I went through. In other words, I relived that moment I walked up to my mom's casket. I relived that moment I'm holding my dad in my arms, looking in his eyes while he's dying. I relive those moments. And so kids that see it, they feel it, man. It is just so powerful. And, when you go to a middle or high school, I mean, it's one of the toughest audiences in the world. I got many guys that are inspirational speakers and speak at corporations. They make jokes. They go, I would never walk out to a high school audience or a middle school, But I really found a way to connect with them. And what's so cool now is because of the internet, because of social media, most of the kids know who I am. So when I come to school, it's like, oh my gosh, that's that guy, So it's kind of cool now, and it's a lot of fun. Because if someone told me at my age I'd still be talking to middle or high school kids, I never would have believed it. But every year it seems to get better.
And you had, I think it was a shirt on. I was watching one of your interviews doing my research, and it said hope on it. And it said, hold on, pain ends. I mean, boy, man, I thought about that. It was something so simple, but Mark, it was so profound. Like, if you just think about that, that can apply to anybody. Anybody can use that motto.
Yeah, that acronym is so important, because it does that. And, we all go through stuff in life, and especially the loss of a loved one or divorce. And that pain is so powerful and so, oh man, it just tears you up. And that's where people feel like they're at a point in life where they may even let go, and just getting to hold on, getting to talk about it, getting to know that I also went through that, and I also been to the edge, and life is so precious. And I share the stories that if I would have ended my life back then, I've been 15 years clean, and it was 15 years ago that I was going to end my life. But I think about all the beautiful things that came in my life that I never would have even known about. I never would have known all this joy, all this happiness, the laughter, and how beautiful life is because of a spur-of-the-moment decision I was about to make. And sharing that with people, I think they can start getting a glimmer of hope that this pain will end and that something good will happen in their life. There's the best chapters of your life are about to be written, new love, new joy, new happiness, new friendships, the things that you would have never known about if you would have ended your life.
And one of my favorite quotes of yours, and this will be my last thing, Mark, what does "I no longer live in time, I live in moments" mean?
Well, because, I cherish every moment, and moments, they go by so quickly. And I think about everything that I go through, every school I go to, everybody that I meet, I have an opportunity to make a difference in their life. And living in that moment, connecting with a student, looking in their eyes, talking to them, putting social media and phones away, man, just connecting with a human being. That's a moment that I just cherish. And the time goes by so quickly, but those moments, man, you can hang on to those moments forever. I look back on those moments and it just makes me smile knowing that I made a difference in someone's life during that moment.
Yeah, you're a very special human being, Mark, and I hope you come back down the road. I mean, I have so many more questions, but you've got better things to do. You've got people to connect with. So is there anything you wanted to promote, Mark, before I let you go?
Like I said, we're getting ready to kick off our 12th year at schools all over the country. We're actually going to Guatemala next month.
Wow!
To speak out there to schools and parents too. And then we're also, we went to Russia and spoke at schools in Russia. Wow! So we're going all over now. But there's so much to do right here in the United States and Canada. And anyone that's listening to this podcast, please have your school reach out to us. Go to our website again. It's ThinkPoz, P-O-Z, as in zebra, thinkpoz.org, or you can always call our office, which is 407-862-4800.
His name is Marc Mero, and he truly is marvelous. Mark, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today.
Derek, you are awesome, and I look forward to meeting you in person, and I really hope there's an opportunity to come out to your school or your area.